gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Fenway Park.
Welcome to Monster Territory, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very special guest here today, Lou Merloni, back on the show. My friend, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Robbie. How are you, buddy?
We're good, man. Things are starting to pick up. You know, it's been a little chilly, I would say, so far. Not too much going on. We had the big trade yesterday. Grayson Rodriguez heading to the Angels. We got another bat we got to deal with there in Baltimore now. That lineup's looking pretty good. What are you thinking about the Orioles right now?
Well, it was surprising, right? Because you're getting 1 year award, a rental, pretty much, for 4 years of Grayson Rodriguez. But I remember like last year towards the end when Rogers was throwing the way he did, Bradish was coming back, and you talking to some people in Baltimore, sort of like, wow, you had Grayson Rodriguez to this team. You know, next year that staff is where it wants. And there was always that kind of pushback. Yeah, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see how he is. We'll see if he can stay healthy. Like it always kept coming to like, we'll see if this guy can ever stay healthy. But still, 4 years, I thought they would give it a shot. So they've moved on. Obviously regretting the Tyler O'Neill signing didn't work, and it's probably a move they wish they did last offseason.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Tyler O'Neill thing, I wonder if that came into play, right? Because, you know, they signed to be the big bopper in the middle of the order. He did great for us, you know, even though he did miss some time. But I think that's what they were hoping for. And I think they got that now in Taylor Ward. But we'll see what the Orioles do the rest of the offseason here. Before we get into it, I got to ask you, obviously, lots of Red Sox for you this past year, pretty much every single day, nonstop. Definitely a step in the right direction with the Red Sox this past year. But now, you know, we've moved on a bit here. You know, we've gotten to digest a little bit. You know, what are your biggest takeaways from the Red Sox from 2025?
Well, I think it was a good step forward. You know, it was a very good offseason for Craig Breslow.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think when you look back at it, right? I mean, you make the Crochet deal, you bring in Chapman, you extend him during the year, you bring in Justin Wilson, who was good. You trade for Carlos Narvaez, and in the end, you bring in Bregman. So you want him to build off of that, but it was sort of like, okay, you just set expectations. Like if you're a team with Garrett Crochet should be in the postseason every single year. Right. And then we finally got to see Roman Anthony. So it was sort of like we've been waiting for this. This has been going on now for 3 or 4 years. It kind of started with Meyer, right? And then Anthony kind of leapfrogged him. So you started to see that. And I think more importantly, it's been 2 years now where Breslow's been in here. Year one was kind of in the middle of an off season, wanted to implement his pitching development program. Well, in year two, we saw it. You know, whether it was at the end of the year, guys like Tolley and Early that probably shouldn't have been here yet, or whether it was, you know, Dobbins and all of these guys, Fitz and everybody else that we saw. It's just, it's good. It's exciting because you need good young pitching, and they obviously have it.
Yeah, you know, going back here, you know, 2021, obviously you had that bit of a run there, but, you know, you look at all these young pitchers, you know, that came up this past year. It's exciting. You know, you haven't really seen it very much. So, you know, seeing all these position players coming up and doing their thing like Roman, Marcelo, you know, see what happens with Christian Campbell, obviously. But, you know, there's a lot of good things this past year. And I'm expecting a big offseason from Craig Breslow yet again. I still feel like, you know, people out there, you still got the naysayers out there, Lou, saying, oh, Craig, he hasn't really done much. Well, no, he had a big offseason last year. And I don't know. I think there's people out there, even if he went and traded for Shohei Ohtani for crying out loud, I still think people would doubt Breslow. I don't know. But
yeah, it's, you know, it's funny because obviously I listen now to the Patriots talk, right? And it's like year one of the rebuild under Mike Vrabel. Well, it's not year one of the rebuild of the Patriots. It's just a new guy in charge, right? The rebuild started when Brady left. This has been going on for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
You know, so people sit there and say, well, the Red Sox rebuild's been going for 5 or 6 years, but they don't give the same benefit of the doubt of saying last year was year two for Craig Breslow. So, and I think you like year two. You got to the postseason. You kind of set some guys. You extended some guys. You saw some young pitching. So he had a good offseason. He had a bad trade deadline. There's no question about it. So let's see where this thing goes for Craig Breslow. You know, I mean, I'm not going to crap all over him. You say there are some naysayers out there. I get it. There's going to be it all the time. It's like, you know, John Henry won't spend. It was like people were born in 2020. They never saw what happened in 17 and 18 and 19. So I always felt like this last year was 2016 version,
Yes.
right? You sign a guy like David Price, you bring in the closer Kimbrel, and you make the postseason. The following year is when you traded for Chris Sale. Well, this is where we're at. Somebody needs to go with Garrett Crochet, and then eventually here comes JD Martinez. So now the bat needs to come in as well. So this thing needs to be built. It's on its way, and it's a big offseason for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great comparison. And it's happened time and time again with the Red Sox over the years. Anytime they go into a competitive window and they're in a competitive window, that's when John Henry will sign off on the checkbook. Every single time. You go back, when they got Schilling back in 03, right? Or going into 04. Time and time again. But one guy that we got last year, Mr. Alex Bregman, he is now a free agent once again. You were big on bringing Bregman in. I was big on him. I was very excited about what he brought to the table for the Red Sox this past year. Did have a down second half. Wasn't awful, but not what he was doing in the first half. But the quad injury, came back early. He was trying to be there for the team. No one's really going to be right in that situation. But he is posting on Instagram. He's training hard. He's out wherever he is, Arizona. I don't remember exactly, but he's looking all right. He's looking like he's going to be good to go. What are your thoughts on Bregman here? Do you think he should be a priority here for the Red Sox this offseason, or do you think they maybe play the waiting game a little bit with him and see what happens?
Yeah, I think he should be a priority. But we do have to keep in mind why it took so long to get him last year in the first place. It felt like the front office was split. Some really wanted him, others didn't. Others thought they could move on without him. So hopefully those people can sit in the back room while the ones who do like him can deal with this. It's like this is a guy you want to invest in. Yep. It just is. He's a professional, in my opinion. I know we could talk about the injury. He was supposed to come back the first week of August. That's what the timeline was for the injury. He came back before the All-Star break because this team was in it. And this team desperately needed him to be in this lineup, to be a presence. Well, that hurt his second half. He just really never got right. So do you come back too early and not play well, or do you come back too late and everybody rip you apart for not caring about the team? But I think he loved being here. I think he enjoyed the limelight, like he enjoyed the crowds, the attention. People talking about Detroit, now with Gleyber Torres accepting the qualifying offer. Bregman already turned down a massive deal in Detroit. If he wanted to be there, he would already be there. There's unknown now with Skubal. I don't know why you'd ever want to go there, to be honest with you. So I think he wants to be here. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but I think if he's not here, it's because the Red Sox didn't put a competitive offer out there. So I think if it gets to that 5-year area, I think he can come back, and I think you want him back.
Yeah, I agree. I like the word that you used there, professional. I feel like when he came here, he changed the culture a little bit, right? He brought the expectations, right? He's a winner. He wants to go out there and he wants to make the postseason. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I agree as well. I think there is a market for him. I personally think there's not a strong market for him. I think there's teams out there you could make it work, and sure, but there's question marks on all the teams that he could maybe land with. I think the Red Sox do check off most of the boxes there, but we'll see what happens. But I got to ask you this. Rob Bradford, another friendly friend of the show, put out there yesterday that the Red Sox might have some interest in Bo Bichette. Now, what I've always loved about you is you're big on the fundamentals. You love just a guy that can get the bat on the ball and get some good hits, right? You like your dingers too, but you seem like a guy that would love someone like Bo Bichette in your lineup. What do you make of that rumor? Could it just be, front offices trying to drive up the price a little bit, or do you think maybe the Red Sox could have some serious interest in Bichette? What do you think?
I think interest is too publicized in the game of baseball because I know everybody talks about, they're the interest kings. Well, the Red Sox should be interested in every top free agent that is out there. They should be interested in any possible trade, whether it's Skubal or all the way down. If they're not, they're not. People don't understand. That's their job. Yeah. So you should be interested in Bo Bichette. You should be interested in, you don't know where that deal is going to go. You don't know what he's going to be looking for. You don't know what he ends up getting. You should be interested in Alex Bregman. You should be interested in both. You should play each other, one off of each other, to be honest with you. Hey, I got this deal out here right now. Whoever wants it takes it. Either or. You know what I mean? This type of thing. This is the way it works in the sports. So I love what he brings to you offensively. He uses the whole field. He makes contact. He gets a ton of hits, and he's got pop. So offensively, I love it. Defensively, I don't know where he is. I don't know where he's going to be. I don't know if he's not going to be shortstop for long. So I don't know the type of player he'll be at third or the type of player he'd be at second base. But I think offensively, he fits a profile that everything you're looking for. And he hits well at Fenway Park too. But they should be interested in him. They should be interested in everybody. And that they probably are. And unfortunately, we're going to hear it. Like a simple phone call to an agent will get into the media. That means you're interested. Sometimes it goes places, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I do expect the Blue Jays to be very strong in trying to bring him back. But, like always, they're going to be aggressive for everyone out there, too. It's going to be interesting. And when it comes to the lineup, though, I think we can all agree, whether or not you want to bring in a guy that can give you 200 hits in a season, you need a little bit more pop in the middle of the order. When it came to the numbers of this past year, they were 15th in home runs and 24th in OPS out of the cleanup spot and 29th in WRC plus in the cleanup spot. So they need some power in the middle of the order. If you were running the front office, if you got to take Breslow's chair for a day, who are you going to go after? Are you going to go after Alonso or are you going to go after Kyle Schwarber? What do you think?
I think I'm picking Alonso over that. I think I've talked about it before. I love Schwarber. I love the experience of Kyle Schwarber here. There's no versatility whatsoever. I mean, it's already a DH spot. And by the way, the thing is, Alonso may be as well, because he doesn't exactly improve your defense by him going to first. But there's some sacrifices you need to make to get 40 to 45 home runs. What Kyle Schwarber's done the last 4 years or so in Philly is awesome. It's a beautiful hitter's ballpark. He's blown up. That's not who he was. So is it the ballpark? Is he a 35 home run guy? Or is he going to be a 50 home run guy? At Fenway Park versus that place? I don't think so. I would rather have the right-handed bat that can play a little bit of first base. Maybe not great, but can play a little bit. It's just the contact, too, the strikeouts. Again, if I have one guy that's going to hit me 45 homers, and if he strikes out a lot, that's fine. But the Red Sox have a lot of strikeouts. You mentioned how they don't have many home runs. It's a bad combination to not hit for power and strike out a lot. Like, that's an awful combination. That's who they were. Yet they still were a top 5 offense when it came to runs. Like a team like the Blue Jays during the regular season didn't hit many home runs. They were middle of the pack. But they were the best contact team in baseball. And then when they got to the postseason, they hit a few homers. So it's got to be one or the other. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So if Bregman is back here and they're looking for a big power bat, I'd still take the position flexibility and the right-handed bat in Alonso.
Yeah, I'm that way too. And I also feel, and we even got a report on this not too long ago, that there are some in the front office that could prefer Alonso to Schwarber. Kind of like what we were hearing last year with Bregman, right? You got maybe a bit of a split there. But I could see the front office, at least some of them, preferring Alonso because you wouldn't have to give up a draft pick. I know Craig, that is something he still values. I mean, honestly, and you could even look at the fact that all these guys coming out of college and high school these days, I mean, they're so good, right? So a draft pick, those are pretty valuable these days.
And, it's not just that either. It's because this year, because they went over, it's 2 draft picks. It's a second and a fifth, I believe.
Oh, right. Yes.
And it's also $1 million in international signing bonus money, which I believe. And people can poo-poo that all you want, but I love the story this summer. The kid Basile with Baltimore, how they signed him to an extension.
Yes.
The New York Yankees had a deal done with that kid when he was, 16 years old. It was the offseason, and they went and signed Garrett Cole, and they lost their international money and had to forfeit that signing. They gave up on him, and the Orioles ended up signing him. So just to put a face to it, because everybody's like, well, what's a compensation pick? A compensation pick is Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony. They were compensation picks that you got. You know what I mean? That Basile was a guy that the Yankees lost because of international signing bonus money. So when everybody always talks about like signing a qualified offer guy, it's like, who cares? It's just a draft pick, just $1 million. Well, just to put a couple faces to it, maybe to make you realize that there's a reason why these teams think about it, and it's another reason why Alonso's probably a better fit.
Yeah, and I'm right there too. And I also think about, from John Henry's point of view, what John Henry has always wanted to build is a sustainable organization that year in and year out can churn out, young players, whether or not they come up to the big league roster or you make a trade or whatever it may be. He wants it to keep going. That's what kind of ended up affecting the Red Sox over the last 5 years before 2025 was, that farm system kind of lost its way a little bit. They had to rebuild it there. So I think Alonso definitely brings those benefits.
AJ, we're going to do things a little bit differently here. I am wearing the Perfect Jean. And I remember seeing ads for the Perfect Jean, like most comfortable fit ever, perfect fit on your body. And I was like, I'm not buying it. Now I'm buying it. And we're showing it off on FT.
Please get off my desk, first of all, Scott. Second of all, I was with you. I was skeptical about Perfect Jean, and then I got a pair, and the fitting was perfect. And my body's not hard to fit because I got a big old rear and big old legs from years of squatting, and they fit perfectly. They're stretchy, they're comfortable, they're fashionable. They're everything I look for in a jean, and now I have an extra pair, and I'm going to wear them all the time.
FOUL15 is the code at theperfectjean.nyc. FT listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use code FOUL15 at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with promo code FOUL15. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the show and tell them Foul Territory sent you.
There is another guy out there, though. Under the radar more so. It feels more like chatter at this point. Is Ketel Marte out with the Diamondbacks. Hazen out there, he has pretty much said, hey, we're always getting calls on our good players. But he keeps popping up here as a possible option out there for a team looking for a bat. And the Red Sox, they are trying to improve at second base, both offensively and defensively. Ketel Marte is interesting. Hit .283 this past year, 28 homers and .893 OPS. Good defense as well. There have been some question marks when it comes to stuff going on in the clubhouse. Players have come out to defend him, saying, no, we're good, he's fine. Yeah. So who knows what's going on there, but could you see, again, there's so many avenues you could go here, but could you see him maybe being an option for the Red Sox?
Well, I love the player. I remember going out in Arizona, and it was Perdomo and Marte and Carroll out in the outfield thinking, wow, these top three right now are locked in. Like, Perdomo and Marte were probably the best middle infield in baseball, offensively. I mean, they were they're studs. 5 years, 91 from Marte. People saying, why would they give up on him? Hopefully they can get Burns back. Who knows? Because pitching, they want to try to win too. But the difference is that they have their Marcelo Meyer in AAA, and this kid Lawler, who was drafted, I think, a pick or two behind Meyer.
Yep.
He had 300 in AAA. Now, they gave him a cup of coffee, a handful of games. He didn't do well, but I don't know. If you're the Diamondbacks, you're going to sit there and say, hey, can I use Marte to improve in different areas, even if we still want to win? Not for prospects, but for another big leaguer, an impact guy. Where's our weakness?
Yep.
Because we need to give Lawler an opportunity. We're going to put him at second base up the middle with Perdomo. Well, all they have in the outfield is Carroll.
Yeah.
So everybody keeps talking about, trading an outfielder for pitching. I don't think you need to. That might be the area where you could pull it off. They're looking for an outfielder. They're trying to clear a second baseman. You could use the second baseman, a switch hitter, who could hit second or third from you against anybody, right? Lefty, righty, doesn't matter because he's switch. And you want to deal an outfielder? Deal it for Marte, in my opinion. Deal minor league arms to go get your pitcher. I think you could pull off a couple of trades and get a number two and Ketel Marte sitting there second or third in your lineup. Now we're talking, because you need two bats. Enough with this either or stuff, Bregman or Alonso, that you hear Rosenthal talk about. You can't just have one. You need two.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Who was it? Was that Rosenthal? I can't remember who said that the other day, but I saw that too. I'm like, no, they got the payroll space. I'm not trying to sound greedy, but I'm just talking more realistically. I think they can go get two bats. Think about it. So let's just say you bring back Bregman and you're like, we're good. Everyone's just counting on Roman Anthony, who I think is an absolute stud, to cover up so much stuff. But if you do deal an outfielder, if it's Jared Duran, you are losing a lot offensively. Yep.
If it's William Abreu, you are losing serious power in that lineup. Now you could say, well, Roman steps in, right, and he's going to take over. Okay, well, you still lost almost 30 home runs and 84 RBIs. 30 from Willier and 84 RBIs from Duran and all those extra base hits. That's gone. I don't know who's going to get those at bats. Is it Yoshida? I don't know, but that's gone. So if you lose an outfielder and just bring back Bregman, in the end, look around. You lost a good bat. You're down a good bat. So that's why I say like you better come out of here with 2 good bats, especially if you're trading away an outfielder.
Yeah, and before we get to the last question here, that what you just said kind of reminds me of a player I feel like he's been a little forgotten about here, and that's Christian Campbell. We got a report not too long ago that, well, not a report, but Craig himself saying that he maybe looking more like an outfielder, at least in the short term. What are your thoughts on Christian Campbell here? Because you're looking at the Red Sox lineup, and obviously they need to get better there, and they need to add, like we said, a couple of bats. But what do you see moving forward with Christian Campbell? Like, how do you see him working in possibly?
Yeah, well, I see him, kind of being outfield depth at AAA. That's kind of like where I see him for now. And that's not to sit there. People can talk about the contract and it was premature and they shouldn't have given it to him. Well, they didn't really have that long of a look, right? He's only had 1 year of the minor leagues. They loved what they saw, obvious reasons. He has a ton of talent. I think he's going to be a good player. It's just there's a reason why most guys don't spend 1 season in the minor leagues, especially a hitter. And especially a guy that had 1 year in college. Like everything was so quick for Christian Campbell. If a pitcher throws 100 with nasty shit, it doesn't matter. Like he's going to pitch in the big leagues, all right? Like it doesn't matter if he's getting out A-ballers. We've seen it now. He's Savage, everybody that's coming up. Schlittler, everybody. Tolley, early, whatever. You got good stuff. You're coming up for a hitter.
Yep.
Boy, there are adjustments left and right. And sometimes in the minor leagues, you never get challenged enough. They never find your holes. Well, they found his holes. So now it's sort of like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's figure out what he is defensively. He's not a second baseman. He's just not. He improved from spring training to the regular season, but I just don't think he is. To me, it would be let's play outfield, let's center field, left field, wherever it may be. Let's work there. Maybe once a week, play first base, and just sort of be that depth, right? Because especially if you're trading away one of these outfielders, you have a starting outfield, you don't have any depth, and hopefully he is that down in AAA because I still think he can hit. And I still think the contract, we'll see. It's early in this thing. We didn't feel great about the Bayo contract early. We didn't feel great about the Cedar Rafaela contract early. So let's just give this another year or two before we start crushing a contract.
Yeah, I completely agree. And he did phenomenal in the minor leagues coming up. And he's got a great head on his shoulders. I have no doubt at all that he's going to be able to figure it out. But what I could see with Campbell, the fact that he is a right-handed bat, I wonder if he could work his way into the lineup in, different ways. I don't know if they would use him as a platoon versus playing him every day down in AAA. I don't know, but I think there can be an avenue, especially if they move either Jarren Duran or Willie Abreu. I think we all can agree probably Cedon's not going anywhere. Chris Cotillo, he has thrown him out as a possible candidate. More likely probably Duran or Willier. If you were to kind of, I don't know, we never want to talk about trading good players away. We all love Duran and Willier, but I don't know, what route do you feel like the Red Sox are going to go when it comes to maybe moving one of those guys if you were to go with either or?
One thing I never really hear about, and I get it, you want to use one of those guys to improve your club. I just get rid of Yoshida.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, why are we trading away a really talented player to keep Yoshida around? You know what I mean? It's been a couple years. I think he's a good hitter, okay? He just doesn't fit this team. Is there a fit out there? I don't know. What's he worth? $6-8 million to a team? Eat 10. Move him. Why are we bending over backwards to trade good players? Or, just to free up a spot for what? So, to me, to me, that's the first thing I would look for. However, I understand that you're trying to improve your area and you have a lot of depth there, and that's a great trade situation to trade from depth. I still feel like you throw them all out there, and I've said this before. Like, I'm sure they probably are looking at a guy like Duran that's now making $8 million. That's 2 years more of arbitration. That's a little bit older than the other two, so they're probably looking at it saying, okay, this is probably the guy just because of terms of control and money that we would rather move. However, you're hoping that the other two can put a season together like he did in 2024. Personally, I'd like the player that I've already seen it from, thinking that last year was a floor year for him. But I still say, okay, what are we fishing for? We just mentioned Marte, or let's say there's a team that wants a big league bat back for one of their good pitchers. What are we fishing for, and who's that arm that we want?
Yeah.
And what if they don't want Duran? What if they want Abreu? Are you going to say no? What if they want Cedon? Like if they're like, no, we want Cedon, are you going to say no to a Hunter Green or whoever it may be? I don't think you are. And I think you put Duran in center. And I think you're a really good baseball team. So
Right.
I still think it's who you're dealing with and who they want more than anything.
I think that's a very important aspect. It takes two to tango, right? We can sit here, we can play MLB The Show, armchair GM.
Yeah.
Oh, trade this guy here. Well, does that team want him? Do they want? Because there's 29 other teams trying to compete, and whether or not you think that they can win a World Series, they're trying to figure stuff out, right?
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I agree with Yoshida. It's funny because I love Yoshida. I agree. He's a great hitter. I feel like if you put him somewhere, maybe like, I don't know, Cincinnati, like a nice ballpark like that, hitter-friendly ballpark, get a bit more pop out of him. Even Miami, a team, maybe a veteran like that could be great for that lineup. I think he could do well elsewhere. If you were to put, I don't know, let's say, give me a percentage. What percentage do you think the Red Sox will still have Duran, Wilyer, Roman, and Seti in 2026? Would you say over 50% or under 50%?
Oh, I'd probably still say under. I'd still say under because I think there's a lot of interest in those guys. You hear rumors about a lot of teams really looking for outfielders. A lot of teams are looking for outfielders, and we've already Kansas City apparently. I have no idea. Some teams that we don't even heard of. So it's sort of like you have no idea who is available because you think about it. That's why I always think you're going to trade for an arm. Like, is there a bat that we're talking about trading for? Like we were just talking about Marte. Like Pasquantino's name has come up. There's a lot more arms that you could trade for, right? But we don't even know. Like there could be this bat out there that a team's like, yeah, we got a young first baseman coming up, and give me an outfielder for our first baseman, right? Well, let's both deal from, depth. So, but I do think there's a very good chance that they move on from them. Like I said, personally, I'd rather see them move on from Yoshida and keep good players.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. And like you said, good way to circle back here. You never know who's available, and you never know who could get traded. We just saw it with Grayson Rodriguez and Taylor Wood. So we'll see. But Lou, I want to thank you for coming on. Let the viewers at home know where can they find you on social media. What do you got going on this winter?
Well, I'm on X, so Lou Merloni fighting with everybody every single night, which I do.
It's my favorite. I love it.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I guess you can take the guy out of sports radio, but you can't take it out of him. So I don't know, whatever that saying would be, because I still feel like I need callers and texters to kind of battle back and forth with. So that's still a lot of fun. But getting ready I'll be out in Orlando. Me and Tom Caron have some live coverage for Nesson during that whole thing. I was thinking, in the morning, 3:10 to left. We'll do some shows at night. Hopefully there's some action out in Orlando early December.
Yep.
So it's, enter the chat on Nesson. I'm always on there every single Wednesday morning as well, around 8:25. So it's fun. I enjoy the off season, following everything, and obviously just kind of relaxing a little bit with the family and friends.
Yeah, I love the off season because it still feels very hectic, but you feel like you can breathe at the same time a little bit. Whereas in season, it's nonstop. You feel like you can't get a chance to breathe. So Anyway, Lou, thank you so much for coming on, my friend. Always appreciate it. Everyone at home, if you're kind of the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll talk to you next time.
Good stuff.